Hello and welcome back for another VMK in the game development series. In this VMK we're going to continue working with the new mouse input version 2.0. And in this video I'm going to show you how to output the X and Y coordinates of the current mouse position. Now we didn't do this before whenever we programmed things with the mouse, because the mouse is always reset to the home position, which is located at the very center of the screen. So the X and Y coordinates really didn't mean anything. But now we're working towards developing a graphical user interface inside of our game where when we move the mouse, we're going to be tracking the position so that we can click on different GUI objects like buttons, sliders, checkboxes, things like that. So we will need to know exactly where the position of the mouse is with respect to the screen. So in this video I'm going to show you how to get the X and Y coordinates of the mouse and display it inside of the console window. Let's get started by going into our game engine and let's see here. What we're going to have to start off by doing is going into the message handler function inside of game OpenGL, and inside here we have this case where we go inside here anytime the mouse is moved. Right now what we're doing is we're getting the X and Y position of the mouse, converting it to screen space coordinates if it's not in full screen mode, and then using those coordinates to calculate the delta X and delta Y to move the camera of the player. Well, what we want to do is we want to actually store these X and Y coordinates somewhere so that we can then go and display the values whenever we render our console window. The location where we're going to be saving these X and Y coordinates is back inside of our user settings class here. So what I'm going to do here is add in two new variables, mouse X and mouse Y, and this is going to contain the current mouse position in window space. So this is with respect to the current window that we're working with, not with respect to the screen space, which is basically your desktop resolution. We should go and take these variables and initialize them inside of the constructor. So in here we're just going to go set both of these equal to 0. And I noticed that we forgot to do that with these variables here, so let's go and do that as well. Anytime you add in new member variables, you should really initialize them inside of the constructor so that you know what value to expect when you go and use those variables. Okay, so initially the X and Y coordinates for the mouse is going to be the 0. Anytime we move the mouse, we're going to be going inside of this case statement, so we want to call a function in here that will update the two parameters inside of the user settings class. The way we're going to do that is we're going to create a function called setMouse, which accepts this point structure that contains the X and Y coordinate of our mouse. So let's go into our user settings class and write this setMouse function now. I'll just put it here on the very bottom. So we set the mouse position in the window coordinate space, and we're accepting a point, so we're just taking the X component of that point, saving it into our X variable, and the Y component, saving that into mouse Y. Now because these variables here are private, we'll need to write two functions, getMouseX as well as getMouseY, so that we can retrieve these variables using our class. So we could do something like this. We have a getMouseX function which returns an integer, and it's just returning the X component of the mouse. We also have getMouseY, which returns the Y component. Now let's go in and actually use those functions to display something inside of our console window. Our console window is rendered inside of our scene class, so let's go inside there, scene, and we want to do it inside a console render. Alright, so currently we have the current game time, position XYZ. There's nothing in line 3, so let's put it in here, mouse XY. And that will go right in here. This is line 3. So let's add the following. We have mouse colon %d comma %d. And the first %d is going to be the x coordinate, so we use puser settings get mouse x, and then the second one is get mouse y. Now let's try this out. So our game starts off. I just loaded a model on the screen so we have something to look at. And when I display the console window, we can see our mouse is located at 397 by 271. If I move it to the right, you notice it's trying to move beyond 400, but it seems to be getting reset. And the same thing when I move it left. It seems to be getting reset to 397 all the time. Same thing when I move it vertically. It always seems to get reset to 271. Well, the reason for that is because we've currently programmed the code so that anytime we're running the program, our mouse is getting reset to the very center. We need to be able to disable that when our console window is open. We can fix this problem by going into our, where is it? Inside Game OpenGL frame, I think? No, it's under Update Game. You'll see here we're constantly resetting the position of the mouse to the very center of the screen. Now we don't want to do this when the console is open, so we can replace this code with the following. If the console is not open, then we're going to reset it to the center. However, if it is open, then we won't reset it. So let's go and run this program now and see what it does. So now I open the console window, and you can see as I move the mouse left and right, the coordinates are updating correctly, but you'll notice now that inside of the game world, the behavior is very erratic. And the erratic behavior is because we're no longer resetting the mouse coordinate to the very center. So the calculation to figure out which way we're pointing is no longer valid. To correct this, we need to be able to disable the motion of the camera when the console is turned on. And again, that's easy to do just by using the same function, but this time inside of message handler. So in here, anytime we move the mouse, we're doing all of this work and we're updating the camera position. By making this change here, we've now basically said if the game is in play mode and the console window is not open, then we go and update the camera position. But as soon as the console window opens, then the player's camera is fixed in its location and it won't update. Let's go and try this out now. Okay, so we can move around normally when the console window is closed. And when we open the console window, if I move the mouse, you notice that on the screen, inside of the game screen, nothing is updating. The coordinates are updating here. You can see in the top left-hand corner where it says mouse, 44,174. If I move horizontally, you see we have an increase in value, and if I move vertically, we have a decrease in value, and an increase in Y if we move downward. Now, one thing I do want to change is the coordinate system for this mouse. Right now, 0, 0 is in the top left-hand corner up here. What I want to do is actually place the 0, 0 to be located down here. And that's just going to be a little bit easier to use because when we render things in OpenGL on the HUD, 0, 0 is located down here. It's not located up here. So I just want my mouse coordinate system to match that of our rendering OpenGL coordinate system. So one more change and then we should be done for this video. The change could be done in a number of locations, but what I'm going to do is actually make the change inside of here where we get the mouse Y position. Instead of returning the mouse Y coordinate that was saved inside of user settings, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the window height and subtract from it the Y coordinate. This will basically flip the Y coordinate system so that 0, 0 is located at the bottom rather than at the very top of our window. Let's try this out. Okay, so here's our console window, and now when I move my mouse down here to the bottom left-hand corner, as soon as I'm inside my window, you can see it's located at 0, and if I move it just right, oh, there's 1, 1. It's hard to get it exactly 0, 0 because as soon as you move your mouse outside of the window, the mouse coordinate is no longer being updated. It's only getting updated when you have the mouse inside of your own window. So you can see 0, 0 is down here now, and up at the top left-hand corner, this is going to be 0 and then the maximum height of your window. Alright, so that's all I wanted to do in this video. It's relatively short, simple to do with the existing functions that we have. But one thing that is definitely missing is you can't see your cursor. As soon as you move your cursor outside of your window, you can see it normally, like right here, to the left of the window, but as soon as it moves into our window, it disappears. And it's meant to do that because in our code we've specified that we don't want to display our mouse cursor. So in the next VMK, what I'm going to show you how to do is be able to create your own custom cursor icons. And we're going to position them in such a way so that the tips of them are located exactly at the coordinates that are specified here in the console window. So when I position my mouse here at 585 by 347, it will actually render our custom cursor at this coordinate. Alright, so come back for the next VMK where we're going to implement that.